Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our entitled people. In today's episode, entitled guy knocks himself out with a rubber mallet after slashing my car's tires, and then he screws up. Update, entitled guy knocks himself out with a rubber mallet after slashing my car's tires, and then he screws up. Pickles come home. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled guy knocks himself out with a rubber mallet after slashing my car's tires, and then he screws up. Preface, this situation is still percolating, and is definitely a doozy. My apologies, this might get long. A very good friend of mine I've known for more than a decade reached out after radio silence for 6 months. This isn't particularly unusual for her. She's the feline type of friend who'll reach out when she feels like it, and this isn't the first time she's fallen off the face of the earth. She's reached out to me because she can't get into her laptop I helped her set up. She's forgotten the password and the facial recognition thing isn't working. I mount up and head over, and I honestly didn't recognize her until she spoke. She'd lost a significant amount of weight, and not in a good way. I gave her a hug and was honestly startled when she squealed in pain. In the past I've witnessed this girl try to kick me in the shin, miss, kick a cinder block instead and break 2 toes without making a sound. Long story short, her facial recognition wasn't working right because she'd lost enough weight that her facial structure wasn't recognized any longer. I got it sorted and we talked a little bit, and she admitted her relationship wasn't going very well. I suggested that maybe she might want to take a step back and have a think, and if she wanted to do that, she was welcome to crash at my place. She said she'd think about it and would call me. Well, the next day she called me in tears and asked if she could still crash in my guest room. I said of course, and we did the thing. She didn't grab all of her stuff, just a few changes of clothes and the essentials. We got to my house and I discovered my friend had a new best friend, my dog. He stuck to her like Velcro. Refused to go for walkies unless she came with, would snuggle any chance he got, and even hurled his frisbee at her and did a play bow and growl combo that is impossible to resist. Shortly thereafter it was decided that frisbee is an outdoor sport. I pretended I wasn't the tiniest bit jealous. Sunday morning at about 2 a.m. my car alarm started going off, which it's never done before sitting in my driveway. I throw on a coat and go to investigate, and there's a random pickup with the door open and engine running in the driveway. Getting closer to my car, which had all 4 tires slashed, I saw a man flat on his back unconscious. There was also a rubber mallet laying not far from his hand and a smudge on my window. What followed probably made the 911 operator's night. 911, please state the nature of your emergency. Hi, I'm Ulfra and I'm located at 1234, not doxing myself Avenue. Could you please have police and an ambulance respond to my location as soon as possible? We can do that. Could you provide a little more information? Well, it looks like some jackass slashed my tires and tried to break my car's window, but the mallet he was using bounced off the window and he appears to have knocked himself out with it. I'm sorry, what? When the cops arrived he'd started to come around, but wasn't feeling up to trying to run away quite yet. The ambulance folks checked him out and said he was safe to transport in a police car. They searched him and found a knife and ID, then he got put in timeout in the back of a squad car. While they were talking to me about what had happened, they joked about how rough this case would be to solve. Things rapidly got less funny though when they checked the guy's truck. He had a chopstick wrapped up in butcher paper on his passenger seat with a bunch of ground glass in it. Homeboy was lucky he was in a police car when that little tidbit got disclosed. The cops said they'd get back to me about the report they were working on and said they'd called tow trucks for homeboy's pickup and my poor car. I went back inside shaking from being outside in pajamas in New England in February and more than a little bit of fear and rage. My friend was waiting inside and wanted to know why her boyfriend's truck was in my driveway and what the hell that was all about. I didn't think I could keep my temper at that moment, so I just scooped up my pup and snorkeled him until he stopped struggling and just did a kind of whimper. He'll only accept snorgels on his terms, but I'm bigger than him. Then I told my friend that her boyfriend ruined my car all the way up and had a nice yummy steak with glass in it for the dog. She said, "I'm sorry, what?" In the following discussion, several things came to light. My friend gave her boyfriend my address because she thought he was worried for her safety and wanted to know where she was. Boyfriend found out I had a dog because she'd posted some pictures of him on social, joking about being in love with him / sharing a bed. My friend was now furious. Funny thing about domestic abuse cases, a lot of the time mental fatigue and trauma can do awful things to people's minds. The overwhelming feeling of helplessness and despair can absolutely cripple any efforts to stop the abuse or leave the situation. Normally it requires a lot of patience, time, and therapy to recover. Sometimes though, the abuser will do something so cartoonishly evil that everything snaps back into focus, and the person that was being abused winds up in a headspace that probably inspired the Greek Furies back in the day. By the time the flatbed tow truck hitched up my car to get the tires replaced, we had a plan. Neither of us thought he'd go away long enough for me to really feel safe in my own home based on what he was discovered doing. Being an awful human isn't a crime, and vandalism and maybe animal cruelty would have him out on bail almost immediately. Someone dumb enough to use a rubber mallet on a car window would probably try again, convinced this time he wouldn't be caught. Domestic violence, however, can be a good deal more serious. Sadly, there was a lot of that. Once the sun came up, I borrowed a car and we went to the ER. We get out and make our way to the doors and then immediately head back to the car because there's an armed guard at the door and my friend's starting to panic at the notion of interacting with the guard. I ask her to wait in the vehicle and go up to the guard and explain the situation. He understands immediately and gets on his walkie to summons the Mama Bear Squad. They helped document everything and get the police involved. Here's hoping it's enough to keep the dude away from me and mine. Small update. Small update is small because I hurt. Turns out moving someone out in the midst of a bad breakup is pretty straightforward when half the couple is in lockup. Half an apartment's worth of stuff is currently strewn about my part of the house higgledy-piggledy because I can't be arsed to move anything else and she's not allowed to. Doctor said no heavy lifting, not her idea. She turned her key into the landlord after landlord verified she hadn't done anything shady like leaving an upper decker or putting holes in the walls. Landlord wouldn't give up her half of the deposit, which I really can't blame him for. Funniest part? Me and her dad had no trouble with the furniture. It was the boxes and bags of clothing that near killed me. Doggo was not pleased when he discovered the trash bag of dirty laundry wasn't his new bed. Friend was not pleased to discover my dog has a klepto streak when it comes to dirty socks. Can someone please explain to me why girls feel the need to have 50 pairs of shoes? No word on charges or bail yet, am keeping a close eye. I want to thank you for being a good friend. Many people would not have done what you have done. I am really glad that this guy is an idiot and was not able to hurt you, your friend, or especially your dog. Get a Ring doorbell and extra cameras on your place today. Abusers this invested rarely stop until made to stop, so stay vigilant and safe. Good luck to you and your friend, and hug the dog a bunch more, they might eventually like it. Title and preface: this situation is still percolating, and is definitely a doozy. My apologies, this might get long, has me hooked. Hold on, I'm getting coffee. While I think you are awesome for being there for your friend, I just have to say your dog. She knew right away your friend was abused and needed the unconditional love only a doggo could provide. I mean, he's always a bit of a floozy when it comes to the fairer sex, but he did go above and beyond for her. You are a great friend and please keep us updated. Domestic violence is no joke at all. Update: entitled guy knocks himself out with a rubber mallet after slashing my car's tires, and then he screws up. Well, folks requested an update and here she be. Friend is doing as well as can be expected. Turns out the reason things went as badly as they did wasn't what I thought. Friend's ex and I didn't get along, he always felt like he needed to establish himself as the smartest guy in the room. He wasn't smarter than me, and his repeated attempts to prove he was kinda poisoned the well. I didn't push his buttons, I just don't take shit from anyone that's not paying me to do so. That makes him kind of an asshole but not a monster. No, that happened because of a double gut punch tragedy. My friend found out she was pregnant, and everyone even tangentially related to them was overjoyed at the news, including a much beloved and very, very ill member of X's family. The sick member of the family was resolved to stick it out to meet the new baby and fought as hard as they could to stay until that could happen. The pregnancy ended in miscarriage in the second trimester, and the much beloved family member passed away within 2 days of hearing the sad news. X didn't react well to anything that went on after that, and that's when the abuse started. My friend was in such a funk she didn't resist, and then there was a new and very abusive normal. When she left her ex, what little grasp on sanity he had was well and truly dust in the wind. The charges for the events I described in my post have been dropped, and he's been remanded to a state mental health facility for treatment. I'm working with the police to see who I need to sue for damages to my vehicle, since X is enjoying his stay in a nice safe padded room with all the tapioca pudding he can eat. My friend and my fluff had a bit of a falling out. She's got a shy bladder and he's got a desperate need to be there in your time of need on the porcelain throne. Eventually my friend put her foot down and started putting a rubber doorstop on the bathroom door so she can relieve herself in peace, and my fluff is not happy about this. Yes, my dog can open the bathroom door. No, I haven't been able to go to the bathroom by myself in years. It makes her laugh when she hears the thud of him trying to open the door, so I'm just letting things slide. It makes me laugh when my pup reads her the riot act after she emerges. Would like to request the sage advice from Reddit, however. My friend feels like she needs to pull her weight and has resolved to do numerous chores around my house to make sure she's helping. Problem is, my friend is the least domestic female I have ever encountered. She's organized a room for me and totally forgotten where things got placed, broken a few things by wiping them with things they shouldn't be wiped with, and committed a dinner that very nearly killed me trying to choke down. Did you know rice can be burned? She's in a very, very fragile state, and I haven't asked her to do a thing. In fact, I've reassured her that all she needs to do is entertain the dog and focus on getting herself back together. She insists she needs to contribute, and I'm at a loss as to what she can do to assuage her guilt. Any suggestions on how to communicate that she's healing and not mooching? Update: problem solved itself. Friend has decided she will repaint my guest room. My guest room was remodeled into existence to serve as a nursery, and was painted light blue. This apparently made friend uncomfortable for reasons that I'm embarrassed to admit I totally didn't see right away. She ambushed me with swatches. I know not how she got them. I suspect collusion with my parents. We actually had a disagreement about taupe or beige for a new color for the walls. I'm re-evaluating my life choices and considering mailing back my man card. Maybe she might also be restless, so that combined with possible guilt of her being there directs her towards trying to help with domestic tasks. I'd suggest possibly either. If she feels the need to help, give her some basic chores or leave little notes or recipes to help out on tasks, like what is usable for specific things to prevent breaks. If you can convince her with a good hobby to keep her busy, if she needs to do something with her hands, might I suggest crocheting or painting, or possibly getting one of those miniature DIY sets. They're time-consuming enough and fairly fun. All of this. There's these things called diamond paintings you can get on Amazon, and they are awesome. She had a second trimester miscarriage, which is insanely painful and tragic, and he decided to pile abuse on top of that. I have no words. I never said it was a good reason, just a reason. Not an excuse in the slightest. My mind was just boggled about how an otherwise rational human can suddenly become a dumber snidely whiplash, you know? I need to put my thinking cap on regarding what I can suggest. Maybe dog walker with fluff? Agree. Have her do simple things like feeding, brushing and walking fluff. Animals are great in these instances. It seems Fluff really loves your friend, so this would be good for her mental health. I would suggest very specific things. Like, it would help me so much if you could walk Fluff twice a day, or I never have time to wax but I really wish I could. Do you think you could do it for me? The only thing I can suggest, and I'm not an expert by any means, is to find something she's good at / enjoys and have that be her job, just something she can focus on while she heals. Perhaps journaling or writing music would help her express her emotions in a healthy way, and of course therapy is probably a good idea too. Pickles come home. During my many years as a photographer for the most magical place on earth, a theme park complex in sunny Central Florida, I've seen things. Buckle up folks, this is going to be a crazy one. One of our annual pass holders is a young lawyer named Lizzie and her service dog, Pickles. They come to the park at least once a weekend. When it's slow, Lizzie and I'll spend a couple of minutes just talking. Pickles is a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, and 1, not a dog traditionally associated with service work, 2, is trained to stay close by without a leash because it'll interfere with his tasks, and 3, about 15 pounds. We're having a pretty typical day when Lizzie and Pickles come in for their weekly visit. We spend a minute talking about our weeks when a family comes up to take their picture. Lizzie thanks me for talking to her and I tell her to give Pickles a porterhouse steak from me, our usual parting. Nothing too unusual so far. About an hour or so later, I'm photographing a family when something gets my attention. I look over and see a strange woman carrying Pickles. Pickles is struggling to get loose. I quickly excuse myself and rush over because I've never seen Lizzie with anyone and Pickles is clearly in distress. "Excuse me, ma'am, but is everything okay?" The lady sees me and her face goes white. Immediately, she calms herself and says, "Oh yeah, buddy here just wants to go home." She tries to leave. That's when I decide to set a trap. One of the commands Lizzie told me about was Pickles, sing where Pickles will bark. It's so nice to hear Pickles sing, I said. Right on cue, Pickles starts to bark. It's at this point that 2 security officers arrive, having been alerted by Pickles barking. The lady lets go of Pickles and bolts. I catch Pickles before he can hit the ground. One security guard radios for backup, giving a description of the lady while the other gets some water from a nearby cart for Pickles. Not long afterwards, Lizzie arrives and is reunited with Pickles. It's here that I learn what happened. Lizzie and Pickles were enjoying a snack on the other side of the park when this lady came up and offered to buy Pickles for $100. Keep in mind, Cavaliers from reputable breeders like Pickles can cost more than $5,000. Stunned, Lizzie refused, saying Pickles was her service dog. The lady got mad, said something about Lizzie not needing a service dog and left. Lizzie thought that was the end of that. A few minutes later, she dropped her bag, sending the contents everywhere. By the time she picked all of them up, Pickles was gone. The lady was caught and explained that she wanted Pickles for her grandkids and felt she was entitled to him because he wasn't on a leash, and if she didn't want him stolen, she should have kept him leashed. I don't know what happened to her, but I do know Lizzie was considering a civil suit in addition to charges. Pickles was fine, just really scared, and they were back at the park the next week. And yes, Lizzie told me later that Pickles got a lovely steak dinner. Yay for Pickles and Lizzie. Thank goodness you were there and able to jump in to help. Thank goodness you were there. Poor Lizzie, she must have been beside herself. And Pickles. Glad he got a steak dinner. I am so glad you noticed her with Pickles before she got too far. Can't believe the audacity of some people. I hope she got the full weight of the legal situation. She sounds like the kind of person that can justify stealing easily, so hopefully had some good priors that allowed the law to come down hard on her. Glad you were able to help. Some people might wonder about people like the one that tried to steal Pickles' sleep at night. Those kind of people sleep very well because they don't care about other people. They only care about what they want. Hope that lady goes to jail. Pickles being worth around $5,000 should make it a felony. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.